All right, we're here on the Beck Ewing show with Robbie Norwood, resident Spartanburg activist. How long have you been in activist with government, would you say?
Well, I've been vocally active for 10 years and physically active for about 3 or maybe 4, going on 4 years where I've attended meetings and been more active.
So, as you call physically active, well, what kind of started you doing that?
Basically, the fight against Obamacare originally, made me actually get involved in speaking to my representatives, both state and federal. So that's what got me involved physically, instead of just talking about it.
Right.
Whining on social media about it, and then I got involved.
You jumped from the social media over into the real world in that particular point. So what was it about Obamacare? Like, what was it that you're like, that's it, I need to go out there and do something?
Well, this is about the first time in my life that I know of that a government has forced someone to buy a product, whether they needed it or not. So that kind of threw up red flags to me. If the government can force you to buy that, what's next? It doesn't stop there. Anytime the government gets a taste of the power that they don't have, they're not going to release it. They're not going to release it without a fight. So we have to fight and make them relinquish that power they didn't have authority to take.
Right. So for you, it wasn't necessarily a health thing. It was mainly just a fact of, well, here's a definite right that is being infringed upon. And if we relax on this, what's going to happen next?
Well, it was a combination of both. It was terrible policy, terrible legislation, on top of the way they enacted it was not legal. It wasn't constitutional. And then they had to change the meaning of a word, the way a word was interpreted, in order to get it passed. And so you can't change meanings of words and definitions to fit your agenda.
Yeah, you're talking about John Roberts and how it was supposed to be like the tax. What was your feeling at that particular, when I heard that from John Roberts, I felt like almost betrayed at that particular point. How did you feel at that time?
Well, the same way. I said, similar to what I feel now, what's going on with Gorsuch. We sat there. Oh, it's got to be conservative because Bush is appointed. He's got to be conservative, and we let's get him appointed and then see how he feels about things. It's kind of like Nancy Pelosi. Let's pass it, then see what's in it. That's what I see happening right now with Gorsuch. He's got to answer the questions the way they're, and then we'll see how he rules. No. I want to know how he thinks now, personally.
Oh, absolutely.
That would affect any decision he might make or affect the way he interprets the Constitution, because that matters, because apparently it affected the way those others interpreted what the Constitution meant. So if we don't know what he thinks personally, we don't know how he's going to, rule on the constitutionality of certain issues.
Oh, absolutely. Because I know for me, like, as I'm listening to Neil Gorsuch and the answers to these different questions, I know some people were very much throwing some doubt behind, giving him a lot of benefit of doubt behind his thing of, well, what if President Trump asked you, would you overturn Roe versus Wade? He said, I would just walk out the door. Judges don't do that sort of thing. And everyone's like, well, he means that he won't take any orders from anybody, which of course, I don't want to judge taking orders from somebody, in order to be able to do that. Yes, of course, I wouldn't want that. But if you put that in conjunction with his earlier comments when he was being questioned about the precedent and say, I forgot, it was a women's senator. I think it was the one from California, I think, who was asking him about precedent and Roe versus Wade. And he was very insistent. Oh yes, precedent is really important because, our decisions are always, they're supposed to settle issues. They're supposed to keep it to where we don't have to keep on bringing them up again and again. And, to me, since this was such a key issue, and of course, this whole Obamacare, John Roberts, Neil Gorsuch, and and then also along with the Trumpcare now, it seems to be like this mirror image that we're seeing here, that we are putting in, before the problem was a judge that we weren't 100% sure was going to be conservative, but we thought he would. I mean, hey, he seemed like he was classmates with Ted Cruz and all this different type of stuff. We thought he was going to be conservative. And when it really comes down to it, he didn't make a conservative ruling. But then, and then we have socialized medicine with Obamacare. And then, fast forward, it's like the Republicans didn't learn their lesson. Not only are we getting something, again, that's basically just socialized medicine, slightly lighter than the other, not only that, but also we're trying to put in a Supreme Court judge that's not supporting life in that particular regard. Okay, yes, he's a good guy for euthanasia, but he's not supporting the unborn. And in fact, it would seem to indicate the opposite. And they like to make excuses for him. Why would you think that they're making so many excuses for this guy?
I don't know what's going through the minds of someone like Ted Cruz. I don't know what's going through his head when he comes out in full 30 support of this guy. But he says, the way he says things, you got to think calculative like he does. For instance, I think it was Face the Nation or something he was on this past weekend. He said, and I can't quote word for word, but basically he said, when he was appointed to the federal court, 10 years ago or 2004 or 5, whenever it was, that not one Democrat spoke out against him or had anything negative to say about it. So basically he says, well, Democrats should have no opposition to this guy, right? I'm not sure if he is signaling conservatives to say that the Democrats found nothing wrong with him, meaning we should, or is he really trying to get the guy confirmed? I don't know how Ted thinks, and I'm not one to put words in his mouth or interpret his words or interpret what he's saying, because I'm not like Trump supporters. They'll just say, well, what he really meant was. I don't know if that's what he really meant, but it seems to me he could be saying, well, the Democrats had no problem with him 10 years ago, meaning that should Democrats have a problem with him now? And if they don't have a problem with him whatsoever, that means that conservatives should.
Well, see, that's to me, what would be the case there? I mean, if a Democrat doesn't have any problems with a conservative or supposed conservative Supreme Court judge, that would be an issue. Because, I mean, it's just that means, wait, so they would probably appoint this person too. And so I would think, I mean, not that I'm saying that I want, activist judges, but, I would think that if they're like, oh, sure, we questioned him on all, and that's the thing, they're questioning him on all their key issues. They're questioning him on the Supreme Court decision on gay marriage. They questioned him when it came to Roe versus Wade and life, and he's cleared their bars. Like, he basically gave them no caution that he's going to be threatening those decisions at all. In fact, I think with the gay marriage one, that he said, well, it's settled. It's confirmed and it's settled law now. And it's like, well, the Supreme Court, and that's what really bothers me. He's supposed to be a constitutionalist. He's supposed to be an originalist. But is the Supreme Court supposed to settle law? Is it supposed to make laws?
No, I mean, there's this thing called case law, meaning how if the Supreme Court interprets a particular amendment to mean something else now, they don't have the authority to do so, but lately, since Roe versus Wade, they've just done so, and they've not been challenged on it. See, Congress has the power to come out and change the definition of personhood. See, the Supreme Court took away personhood from a fetus and made it to someone, meaning under the 14th Amendment, someone that's born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Because it says born, they said, well, a fetus isn't born yet, so they don't have the right to personhood, so therefore the First Amendment doesn't protect them. And now it covers the person that's alive, so the woman has a choice now to kill. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah.
I don't. And so what bothered me about Gorsuch was he's a big fan, and he's used before stare decisis. And what that means is that takes precedent from the court, whether it's wrong or right. I don't agree with Roe versus Wade. I believe it's a wrong decision. But under stare decisis, to protect the integrity of the court and to claim that the court never gets anything wrong, which they do, stare decisis suggests that you go along with what the past courts have said, and that's what he's done so far in his confirmation hearing. He's not giving us any insight into his personal views, which I want to know whether it's appropriate or not. It does matter.
And I would think this would really disturb, and I guess this is the part that I feel really scared about, continually scared about, is the lack of discernment that the average conservative and Christian has. Because unless they have somebody like Fox News or, Chuck Swindoll or, some type of big, name Christian or conservative standing up and saying, this is wrong, this is not good, they don't think anything of anything. So right now, there's no conservative publicly out there that's standing up and saying, this is wrong, this is bad, ring the alarm bells. This guy is obviously not who we think he is, and he's not going to be the one who helps us to be able to overturn this thing. And so everyone's just like, oh, this is great. Oh, I know that he said that, this is gay marriage is okay, and that it's set a law, but nobody else is saying anything bad about it, so maybe this is a good guy. I mean, it's just like, do you have any type of personal critical thinking skills? It's, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm worried about that. I mean, there's not a lot of people out there who are standing up to this. I am. I know there's one conservative talk show, Steve Dace, is all up in arms about Gorsuch because everyone else is too willing to settle. They don't want to fight. They don't want to waste political capital or fight and spend any of their time calling whoever, sending emails to their representatives to say this, I don't like this guy, or calling their senator and saying no, I do not like Gorsuch, because there's no precedent in his background that ever gives us any idea what he thinks on abortion. Yes, there is precedent. He did write a chapter in a book concerning the end of life, but that's to someone that's already born. And then for him to come out and say that a fetus is not a person, and that it's settled law. Okay, it's not settled law. When the legislature comes out and says this is personhood now, and defines personhood differently than how the Supreme Court interpreted it, because they can. The Senate and the Congress has that power. It's not a matter of can, it's a matter of they won't. And so they won't do it. They've had the power to do so many times since Roe versus Wade, and they've not done it. So don't believe for a second the Republicans mean what they say at all. I posted a status a few weeks ago on Facebook that said, excuse me for this, but you know why Republicans suck? Because they don't keep their promises. You know why Democrats suck? Because they keep their promises. So
they wouldn't keep their promises. At least there would be some help there. But yeah, no, actually, and that's what I really think too, is that I would have thought that a lot of people who have come into the voting booth in the general election and voted for Trump, here are the two of the key reasons why that they voted for Trump. Possibly the first one was having to do with national security and the whole Muslim ban. But after that, here's the other two really big reasons why they're supposedly voting for Donald Trump. Oh, he's actually going to repeal Obamacare. And now, of course, we can talk all day about how he talked on both sides of his mouth on that issue. But the point is that, that's why they were voting for him. They're voting for that, and they were voting for him, the fact that he promised practically on a stack of Bibles that he was going to nominate someone that would overturn Roe versus Wade, that if a case were brought to him, he would do this. And here we have a double whammy, so to speak, and, my only hope is that people are starting to realize, it's like maybe we've this is not what I think it is. I mean, and to be fair, I mean we're not just betrayed by or not just being played, I think, by Trump, but also a lot of the Republican Party. How many years have we heard them campaigning on the promise, oh, we're going to overturn Obamacare, but we just need and replace it with basically just a few things to help out with the free market system. As soon as we can have control over the Senate, as soon as we can have control over the White House, as soon as we, and eventually you lose you're all out of excuses, GOP, and
of excuses. They had 7 years or 6 years to come up
exactly
with something better than this. And they voted over 50 times to repeal it, full repeal. And suddenly, when they get what they ask for, never mind. Now we're going to.
And this is another bait and switch. They like to say, like, oh, well, this is just the first step in, is this as if we need a patch or something coming off of an addiction or something like that. It's like, this is just the first step coming up. We'll keep on doing this. No, what you're going to do is that you're going to pass this bill, wave a flag of victory and say, we did what we're supposed to, and then sit on your hands for the rest of the time. And then it's going to get the end of like 3 years. And then you're like, we can't really do anything because we're about ready to have another election. And that would be just too politically risky. I mean, it's getting too obvious that the Republican Party is about being in power instead of actually being conservative.
Yep, that's all they want, and it's been obvious to me. That's why I liked Ted Cruz so much at first, because he was the one standing up against the establishment and the power, and that's why I liked him. And he actually showed cojones in the Senate that I've never seen in my life. Someone standing up doing what he did. That's why I chose to work for his campaign. But now he scares me. His full-throated support of Gorsuch, endorsement of Trump. I get it. I understand he's wading through a quagmire of uncertainty in every aspect of his career. So he's got to, at some point, go along to get along a little bit in order to keep his job in 2018. I understand that. If that's what he's doing, okay, I get it. But if that's not what he's doing, and he's somehow abandoning principles, that's yet to be seen, and that's what I'm concerned with. So we'll see how he goes. But when it comes to,
well, I think that is honestly a change of strategy for him. Before he was the firebrand that stood up and said anything to anybody, just about, I mean, not like in a nasty way, but in like just I'm pointing out the truth way. And of course, as you know, both of us being on his campaign in the primaries, he got a lot of flack from that. He basically, you either loved him for that or you hated him for that. And there really wasn't any in between. And of course, a lot of the establishment did hate him for that. And, I would arguably say that they actually hated him worse than Donald Trump. Everyone will say like, oh, the media and everybody was so, if they really hated Donald Trump worse than Ted Cruz, then why did they practically ignore Ted Cruz, even though he was clearly second place, and then give Donald Trump like 24/7 on their shows, like all the time, talking about him, having him on and stuff. So no, they really actually were less scared of Donald Trump than they were of Ted Cruz because of his actions. But now I see kind of a shift in his behavior to where he's no longer calling people on the carpet. I mean, he's still saying this needs to be done, but he's really avoiding criticizing anybody, including Donald Trump. At least that's what I see.
Yeah. Well.
And so like I said, going into this, we see Donald Trump not only, I've heard even Ted Cruz kind of give Trump some, how should I say this, some benefit of a doubt and saying like, well, we're talking with him and we're in talks with him, and we're all sitting, and he just wants to be able to get this passed, and we're trying to show him the right way and stuff like. In other words, kind of indicating that he just doesn't really understand. So they're doing that, but let's really look what he's doing. He's out and out threatening the Freedom Caucus that if they don't do this, then if they don't, agree to it, then they're going to be threatened the next time that they run for office. And, but this is what the Trump supporters really loved about him. They wanted somebody that could get things done, that would swing his bat like a bully at everybody's head and say, like, you're going to do this and this is going to happen. Well, here we are. Is this really the stuff that we wanted to happen? I would say not.
Unfortunately, he's like a Rottweiler or a wild pit bull. It's okay when they're attacking your enemies, but when it turns on you, you got to put them down. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way. What I'm saying is,
Yeah, it's
He's
okay.
been turned on
You're advocating
conservative.
for violence. I know that's exactly what you're doing on my show. You're advocating that somebody killed Donald Trump, and I can
No,
see
not
this now in the
whatsoever.
headlines.
Politically, make him waste and expend all his political capital here, and that makes him useless in the future politically. Because he's going to be. If he chooses this hill right out of the gate to go down, then he's an idiot. Bigger idiot than I even thought. But I knew better. That's why I didn't vote for the guy. But
Yeah.
he is attacking the very conservatives and the evangelical base that voted him in office. That wanted.
That's very true.
It's funny. It's ironic, and there's a big fat "I told you so" to everyone who doubted us as never Trump, because I was never Trump, and I still am. I mean, I want him to succeed in, in benefiting conservatives and espousing conservative values and advancing conservatism, but I don't want him to succeed in his progressive tendencies.
Yeah, and the thing is, for me, like I don't want to see our country go down the tubes. Like, I don't want things to turn out badly, So for me, I'm not holding my breath in the hopes that I can give you about a big fat "I told you so" to people and everything like that. That's not my hope. My hope is that things turn out okay despite, our the decisions that we've made over this past election season. But I mean, he's the American president right now, and so I hope for the sake of America that kind of like Romans 13 there, excuse me, First Timothy 2, where I want us to live peaceable lives in all godliness and honesty. I want us to be able to do well, and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think that Americans really need, and conservatives and Christians really need to be able to see, that they have to hold a certain standard when they're looking for candidates. They have to not just go along with whatever party tells them to do. They have to think critically and act for themselves according to the good consciences and what the Lord, shows us in His Word. So, sometimes we have to have an owie in order to be able to, to really learn those lessons. But, when it comes to, like I said, with Donald Trump in this, he's threatening other people. So if we're thinking, how can we support the Freedom Caucus? How can we support the other side? My personal thing is whoever does vote for this bill, we should come out and say, as conservatives and Christians, well, Donald Trump, if you're going to give trouble to the Freedom Caucus the next time they come around, we're going to give trouble to the others that did vote for the bill and the whole time. Like right now, there's some question that whether the Freedom Caucus will, cave, if they simply take away some government regulations. But I'm referring to like the ones that were always like, yeah, this is a perfect bill. This is a fulfillment of all of our promises. Isn't it great? And it's just like, no.
They're lying. I mean, okay. False lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who work faithfully are His delight. And that's Proverbs 12:22. Most of Congress, not all, but like Trey Gowdy, for instance. Yesterday, I was on a conference call with him and Tim Scott, and they were lying. They were both lying to the people.
What did they say?
I mean, they're okay.
You can't just say the line. You have to actually say what they said.
It upsets me to a great deal. Okay, the lying being.
I appreciate your, I'm trying to.
We saw a little bit, but the lying being employed to preserve Obamacare is it's worse. Like I said yesterday, it's worse than the Gang of Eight. I mean, there's more lying going on to preserve Obamacare than there was to lie about amnesty.
So, like for instance,
at the time of the Gang of Eight, okay, they lied about the nature of the bill, its outcomes, its cause and effect, and the entire premise behind it. They used conservative talking points to describe something antithetical to what was actually in the bill, while at the same time they were telling us lies about the legislative process. Allies of the GOP leadership also managed at the time to get liberal groups to fund ads in conservative districts selling amnesty as border enforcement. All those elements are playing out in this particular fight, except the stakes and the magnitude of this lying is worse. The they're telling us that they're repealing Obamacare, but yet not repealing it at the same time. Out of one side of their mouths, varying establishment figures say that Trumpcare is for repeal. And then when they're proven that it's not, they blame the Senate parliamentarian and congressional process. They say that we can't repeal this price gouging or price hiking, competition destroying regulation that formed the core of Obamacare because the parliamentarian won't allow those provisions through the budget reconciliation process. Okay, someone who thinks that doesn't just believe everything they say and blob their head would ask the following question, wait, so you mean you're now changing your argument from yes, we are repealing Obamacare to no, we're not repealing Obamacare because the parliamentarian ate our homework? I mean, they've been doing this for years, okay? Mm-hmm. Privately, other leadership figures are telling their rank and file members that, we can't repeal the regulations because of political considerations. Mm-hmm. They're too scared to explain how the pre-existing condition element of Obamacare is the core element that's driving up prices into insurance insolvency, the individual mandate insolvency, all that other mess.
Well, it seems like what they're doing is that they're simply taking the same thing, repackaging it. Instead of repealing, they're repackaging it. It's like having a failed product on the line, and instead of taking all of it off the shelves, you just simply took it and stuffed it in a different outer packaging and just pushed it right back out the door.
Yeah, basically, after all that, and everything's going to crash downhill if this gets passed. What it begs the next logical set of questions. All right, what's the official storyline of Republicans promoting this fake repeal bill? Do they not want to repeal it? Can they not repeal it because of process constraints? Or is this bill itself actually full repeal of Obamacare as they keep advertising to the public? I don't know. I don't know those answers. But the parliamentarian excuse is a bald-faced lie. Okay. Mm-hmm. As for the question of the parliamentarian and the budget process, it's already been debunked. And the myth that it can't be repealed through reconciliation is just that. It's a myth. Because, like I said, based on precedents, the CBO's analysis, the courts, and the power, like I said, of the vice president, he can go in and overrule the parliamentarian. So if they really wanted to take it out and repeal it, they could. The regulations can all be repealed in a one-sentence bill. Republican leaders who are owned by the Obamacare Chamber of Commerce, they just don't want to do it because they make too much money by having this thing stay where it's at. Like I said, there's a difference between can't and won't. And here's further proof they're lying. Excuse me. Hold on a minute, honey. Give me a minute. Sorry.
Here we go. We got a UK moment.
Yeah, but here's okay, baby. Here's further proof they're lying about the budget reconciliation process. The fine print of their own bill self-incriminates their contention that regulations cannot be repealed through the budget reconciliation. Congressional Research Service lists 24 regulations in Obamacare. The heart and soul of what drives the costs up are the core regulations of guaranteed issue,
right,
community rating, and the requirement to cover other things. Let's say, for instance, for me to cover mammograms or pap smears.
Right, stuff you clearly don't need being a man.
I don't need. That's a wasteful cost on me. Those elements are what's made Obamacare insolvent because they force insurers to cover everyone under every circumstance for every disease at the same price of the general public.
But just to interrupt you just a second, but if you decided suddenly that you're a woman and then transgendered into a woman and, now you would need mammograms and it wouldn't be considered and then all those pre-existing conditions would be gone. And, isn't this helping you out, in case you decide that you're a woman all of a sudden?
But what it does is it takes the concept of insurance out of insurance. That's why the costs are crushing for everyone because there's no competition. When you take competition away, everything goes up because you've got one choice and one choice only.
Right.
However, there's a bunch of other regulations that have a much smaller impact on the marketplace. 2 of the 24 regulations are actually repealed in this new bill. They are called the actuarial value and the age rating restrictions. They're going to repeal those. They'll have a negligible effect on the economy.
Well, even just the simple fact of 2 out of 24, we repealed every single line of Obamacare.
Yeah. Well, and the actuarial value won't be repealed until 2020 with this bill. So it'll still be after the thing collapses anyway. So it doesn't matter. It's not even going to take full effect immediately. It takes 4 years or 3. It's not really important to get into the details of what exactly these regulations do, but the inclusion of them in this particular GOP bill demonstrates that when Speaker Paul Ryan wants to stick regulation repeal into budget reconciliation, he can. He's just picking and choosing which ones.
Right.
There's also several other provisions in the bill that don't have a positive budgetary effect. Yet Republicans don't seem to worry about them, or the parliamentarian striking them out. Sorry.
See, that was the question. Who let the dogs out? So, see, he's helping me out. He's helping me out with my thing. So, in regards to what you're doing tonight, you're having a meeting of the GOP up there in Spartanburg, right?
Yeah.
And so, tell me about what you're doing tonight.
What am I going to do tonight? Basically, I'm going to show up. I'm going to act as precinct president because probably no one else will. I'll preside over the meeting. I will call it to order. If anyone shows up, I will ask them, we'll take a vote on who to nominate for certain positions. If less than 5 people show up, I will be committeeman, president, and secretary. But it depends on how many people show up. I've called several people on the voter list to inform them of their right to be there, so they'll know. And so I'm not trying to hide it from people. The process itself in Spartanburg County is very, very bad. It's meant to cause confusion. It's meant to be a detriment, or so the people won't really be able to take the party over, and they're scared of that. So they're keeping the power kind of centralized to the people that know the schedule. If you don't know the schedule, then you're likely to miss out.
So what is it? Power by disorganization?
It's disorganized. The website hasn't been updated in 3 years. It's pitiful. It looks like a second grader created the website. But you can go one county over, and they got YouTube videos. They're giving away a gun. The party has got their stuff together.
You talking about Greenville, or are you talking about okay?
They got radio ads, YouTube videos they're posting all over Facebook, sponsored ads. None of that's going on in Spartanburg. It's like you've got to call everybody in the world.
You just want a gun, right, Robbie? You just want to be able to get a gun here now.
I'm going to move to Greenville now. No, but Spartanburg GOP has just dropped the ball, and it's not. I'm not sure if it's one particular person's fault. I'm not going to mention names, but they are not doing what is required to boost participation.
So to explain to me and the listeners what's important about the reordering? What is important about that?
Well, you want to bring fresh blood into the process. You want people to get involved. If people aren't involved, then the same old people stay in power. And I'm talking at county level here. And the same old people at a county level get to choose. They get to choose who is leading at the state level. But if Spartanburg carries a certain number of delegates to the state convention, district convention, it goes from those levels, then they pick the same old people, the same old good old boys who never lose power or lose their positions. And that stuff's got to go. We need new people, new vision, new blood, new participation, more people, so we can get more votes for particular candidates that would do a better job in those positions.
And that's really, in the end, what we need. We keep on trying to change everything by changing just the top factor and, to go down in that particular regard. But really what we need to be working on the ground level, and then eventually it'll reach up through that way. I know we say like trickle down economics, but it doesn't really work well for the political stance. Trickle down politics usually doesn't work very well when it comes to the American way.
It's got to be trickle up everything. You start at the bottom, let the grassroots take over, and run it the way it should be ran. Not by these people who think they know it all already and have been there forever and have done nothing but mess things up for the past decade. I mean, it has not been ran well at all, and that's the people's fault. I mean, it's my fault as much as it is my neighbors, for not being involved earlier. I mean, but it goes deeper than just people not getting involved. It goes all the way back to public education, and we can go into detail as to why people are so apathetic nowadays. I mean, there's many, many, many reasons. People are too involved in what's entertaining to them, sports or this, that, or whatever. They're not involved in government or politics because something else got their attention. Ooh, squirrel.
Or dog in your particular case. But but you're absolutely right. I mean, the thing is that if we really want to see a change in our country, if we want to be able to see pervasive, what we need is pervasive change. We have to change what we're doing. It's the definition of sanity is doing the same things and expecting a different result. We're not going to be able to get a result unless we get involved on every level. And the reason why we're not is because we just want to be able to set one person up to do everything that we want to be done and then just go back to our lives and Netflix, soccer games, and parties and whatnot, and weekend, vacations. And we just don't want to have to bother with anything else. And the unfortunate part of all this that we're hopefully eventually going to learn is that nothing is going to change unless the average conservative Christian decides to get out there and actually make a difference. I know for you worked with the Super PAC over the primary season. For me, I worked within an actual campaign, the South Carolina Pro-Life Coalition leader. But there has come a moment for us where we're like, just talking about it doesn't do anything. And so we have to actually get out there and do that because, like I said, as much as we like to throw this just on, the president all the time, the fact is that there's all their administration, there's Congress, there's FBI agents, there's all these people that are involved in a lot of the corruption that's going on. And, we have to look at those people too. Even okay, now this was not very popular when I said this during the general election. When they had, Hillary's America come out and everything, and everyone's saying, oh, she's the devil. It's like, if we don't stop her, the devil will take over. And I was like, you do realize that she's not the only person that is in power that has nefarious ideas or ideas we would not, agree with. She is not literally the Antichrist. There are other people that are in play here, and she just happens to be the person in the public's eye right now that's being kind of like their leader.
Who was it that financially supported her a lot? Trump. People were so afraid of her, but they did. They just looked right past their 40-year relationship and friendship. And I'm like, come on, you got to realize this is the controlled opposition. They wanted you to think there was opposition. And it was controlled opposition. The news, you saw the media work their magic to destroy Cruz, destroy Rand Paul, destroy anybody that had any conservative that might have had a chance of winning. They destroyed them in the primary. They had to. They built Trump up. They gave Trump like 73% of positive coverage on the news, and it was all free, not earned. It was unearned media.
Trump had hardly to spend a dime during his whole time because he just got continual media coverage the whole time. He basically proved, and that's why Cruz worked like 3 times. 3 times is probably actually not enough, but definitely at least twice as much as everybody else because he couldn't get any real coverage, and so he had to go to all the people directly. And so but anyway, so like I said, I mean, it's like we have to realize that our problems run deeper than just a presidency. There's a lot more there, and we have to be able to replace the corruption at every level, and not just on the national level. And of course, yes, it sounds exhausting and everything, but what is the alternative? The alternative is we don't see the change that we need. And so, it's kind of like if you're sitting on the couch and you're 500 pounds, I'm sorry, just giving up, sodas is not going to change your life. It's not going to do everything that you need to. You have to completely change your habits, change your life, and get off your butt and do a bunch of stuff in order to be able to lose all that weight. But, that's not going to be able to happen, in just this one little area. You have to have a complete change. And yes, it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. You're going to have a lot of pain. But what's your alternative? You're probably going to die early, and you're going to stay on the couch 500 pounds. So, Well, anyway, I know that you have to get out to your GOP meeting and get signs and do all that. And we appreciate you, helping your country out by at least being involved in some particular way in fashion or form. It's definitely a lot better than people who just are going to watch Netflix tonight and just ignore what's going on. But, hopefully we can encourage more people to be able to come out and be involved and be informed. And that's what we're trying to do here. And do you have any call to action, any action steps for the listeners out there?
Well, basically, if we all take time to study the history of what made this country great to begin with, the role that Christians played in the formation of this country, the role that Christianity played in the framers of the Constitution, the role that God played in all their decisions, also your role as a citizen of a republic, it requires constant action. Every generation has to fight for liberty or freedom, or we'll lose it in one generation. And now I see so much apathy in my generation, in our generation, that it scares me that the next generation, my daughter, is going to lose it. She will not have freedoms. She'll lose everything that people have fought for hundreds of years and died for. So if we don't get this, if we can't start educating children now in public schools about our history and their duties as a citizen, you're not here just to be free and roam about and just do and paint whatever it is you want to do the rest of your life. You have to be involved in government because we are the government. We, the people, are the government.
Yes, we are the government.
And people have to understand that we are the government. And the more we understand that, the more likely we are to be involved and tell our representatives how to vote. Because right now they're not hearing from enough of us, apparently, because they're doing whatever they want to do. And that's when a society collapses, which we're in the middle of societal collapse. Apathy is like the fifth out of seventh step. So if we don't turn this around, we don't have long. So
anyway. along those lines, if people want to have their voice heard, what should they do?
Well, basically reach out to their local. Either it depends on their thoughts and views, but if they want to reach out to their local GOP, their county GOP, get involved at the grassroots level right there. Get involved at home in their precinct like I'm doing now. It does take work. It does take time. It will require some money spent. It won't break you. It costs me $15 to be a delegate at the county level. It costs another $15 to be a delegate at the state level. So it's not. If you're struggling with money that bad, ask somebody for some help. It's $15, and it could be different for your county. It could be different for your state or county. I don't know. It's different everywhere, but it's not that much. It doesn't cost that much to get involved. It costs some time. It does cost time. It does cost effort. But other than that, people have to do it. If they don't, if we don't do it, nobody will. And then the people up at the top have all that centralized power for as long as they won't keep it, and will be at their whim.
So when and where are your meetings?
I'm sorry?
When and where are your meetings in Spartanburg?
Well, they're held monthly at the county GOP headquarters. I don't know the exact dates yet. That's yet to be determined. That's why we're reorganizing the precinct. We'll get all that later. But so far, the Spartanburg County GOP has dropped the ball on notifying people of that. They don't really post it in the newspaper like they should. I mean, and really no one gets to print a newspaper hardly anymore anyway. That's the readership of that is so down that it's really pointless to put it in the newspaper unless you're just going after those same old crotchety people that show up to every monthly meeting anyway, because those are the only ones that still get the newspaper. If you want to reach out to young people, blast it out on some sort of text blast to your voters, blast it out on social media and target those people, target people in your zip code or, your county, because you can with Facebook. You can specify counties, you can specify zip codes, you can specify that. You can specify age ranges, specify sexes. You can specify that on Facebook, and it'll target those people. That needs to happen more at the GOP, at the county GOP headquarters level, because right now you have to dig and find and call people that might be in the know and wonder what in the world's going on, and they don't even know half the time. You're like, oh, who's doing what? Had I not shown up to the Beacon at the restaurant, the Beacon, a few weeks ago to pick up the packet for the precinct reorganization here, no one would have from my precinct. I was the only one that showed up.
Yeah.
Out of about 3,000 some odd voters, no one but me. Like, that's the issue. You've got no participation in this process, and because it's so difficult and hard to find out, no one knows to show up and win. So it's got to be people like me now calling voter lists on my, calling the voters at their house or on the cell phone and say, hey, I'm just letting you know I'm so down the road from you. Tonight is is the meeting. Show up if you want to, please. We need everybody that can. And so far I've had positive responses. Oh, really? That's tonight. Or really, that's this week. Yes, no one knows because no one's telling them. It should be on the news, like Spartanburg, like WSPA, for instance, is the news, the local news here, or WYFF, Spartanburg Green, whatever. Should announce that every day for a month. At the end of their episode or the beginning, say, oh, by the way, Spartanburg County GOP is having their something. But there's nothing like that. It's just
absolutely, and you're right. You have to be able to up participation in order to be able to get some change. But hopefully today there will be a good decision that the Freedom Caucus will really hold their ground, because really technically they don't have to do anything. They don't have to vote for it. They don't have to acquiesce. And so let's hope that they stay strong and that we can actually insist upon a better option. So I know that Rand Paul has put forth, from what I understand, to be a really great option against to put in comparison to what has been brought up this time. So anyway, Robbie, I know that you, like I said, you have to get out there and do the signs and all those things. But thanks so much for your time.
Oh, thank you very much. I will talk to you soon.
All right, Todd. See you later.